Whoo boy, what a day, huh? Uh, talk about a game changer. I mean, no matter what you think of the Republicans, you gotta hand it to them. These people know how to play the game. So to that, I say, well played, Mr. McCain. Well played indeed. To Sarah Palin, I say congratulations. I'm really curious to find out all I can about you, which I'm sure most everybody else is. I have to say, in spite of what I found out about some of your policy positions, which I don't agree with, I absolutely admire what I know so far about how true she stays to the convictions and the beliefs that she has. And as I said before, that's really what counts with most people. We want to know the real you so that we can make a decision about you. Whether we accept you or reject you, it should be based on who you really are. And she seems like somebody that will tell you, what she thinks, what she feels, believes, and then if you don't like it, F you. So, good for her for that. Boy, did this just take the fizzle right out of the Messiah's glorious crowning moment. Nary a mention of it all day, which I really liked. I thought I would be fair and give him a little nod to it, because I thought that it was a good speech. I read online that he ripped off several passages directly from Hillary, so take that out of the equation. But otherwise, I will give him credit for doing mostly what he had to do. I can't remember everything he said, but one thing I did notice is that this guy is more like Bush than Bush is. What he is like a carbon copy. And it really hit home when he came out onto that stage. And I remember in 2000 when they had the conventions then, and the Democrats went first. And then at the Republican convention, when Bush had his acceptance speech, he came out and it was on a platform very similar to the Messiah's. His was in a smaller venue, of course, but it was that long walkway into a circular center with the crowd surrounding it. And I just remember that the Democrats were incensed about it, because when they had done theirs, it was similar to how it was when Hillary and Bill and everyone was giving their speeches at the Pepsi Center, where they were up on a high platform looking down on everyone. And what the Republicans did was bring Bush down to the level of the common delegate, the person who was there. It made it a personal interaction. And they trumped the Democrats, which is why the Democrats were pissed. But of course we see that the Messiah stole this directly from Bush and just made it into a bigger Bush-like performance. And I also thought that, similar to Bush and Cheney, here we have yet another, unqualified candidate being backed up by an old white dude that it will actually be running things if they actually won. They used, cheating tactics to steal the election, and I kind of thought that even in that way, the black lady that headed the RBC committee, she would be their version of Katherine Harris, since she was really the one who stole the votes, stole the election essentially, and gave it to Obama. And then I suppose Nancy and Dean could have overturned it, but they didn't. They only reinforced the theft, so they would be like the Supreme Court. But there are just a lot of similarities when you really look beneath things. And another thing I thought was, during the speech, was more about what wasn't said than what was. I mean, I don't think at one point did he personally say, we are the ones we've been waiting for. Usually when he gives a speech, he starts out with his greatest accomplishment, which is that my mother is from Kansas and my father was from Kenya. That's the biggest thing about him that he can say about himself. And this time, he mentioned his father. I don't even think he mentioned his father was from Kenya. He mentioned him once, and you never heard him mentioned again. And you notice that he never mentioned any of the members of that side of the family. It was strictly Mama's side of the family, and that family's accomplishments, other than the slavery that they were involved in. And then when, after he finished the speech and everybody came out on the stage and said, or not said, but, waved, you saw it was mostly, I think, Biden's family and extended family. I mean, all I saw was, of black faces was Obama and Michelle and their 2 daughters. And I'm thinking, what this amounts to is that he's sort of blowing off the very thing that got him there, the uniqueness of his heritage. That he's no longer the black candidate, he is the dark-skinned white candidate. And it kind of had one of those, ain't this a son of a bitch moment. And I bet a lot of black people were turned off by that. But there you go. And the last thing I'll say about this was that, as well as having similarities with George Bush, I think Obama has a lot of similarities with Jan Brady. Jan Brady was forever suffering from identity crisis. She didn't know she was Marsha's younger sister or Cindy's older sister. She was the sort of overlooked one and screaming for attention, was the loser of the family for the most part, and was always wanting to shine in a spotlight. And don't you think that Obama's messed up early days, his lack of self-identification has led to where we are today, and he's still trying to satisfy that void? And he's still pretending, trying things like Jan Brady did. Now, the greatest difference that he has with Jan Brady is the big difference, and it's the definitive difference. Because if you remember that one episode with the Marsha, where she finally thought she beat Marsha by writing this essay, and she got like 90. God, some of you people that watched it will know, 94 or something, 95. But then she added it up, and for some reason the dumb teacher couldn't add and gave her the wrong score, and it was really like a 93. And she was at the assembly, ready to accept the award in front of a grand audience, but she knew she didn't deserve it. She could have gone through with it, gotten the credit and the accolades that she'd been wanting, but she didn't. She went out there, did the hard but the right thing, and told them no. And of course, Obama, despite all the cheering crowds who were expecting this outcome, just like the crowd for Jan, and knowing that they would have been disappointed, but maybe would have been more respectful and full of admiration had he done the right thing, could have admitted that this election was stolen, but he didn't do that because he is no Jan Brady.